We're back. Cue that funky intro. What is up, Fin fans? I think this is the first time I've been back here in the edited world for a while. I think there's a couple videos. Been giving you straight from the camera stuff. It's a lot of breaking news. So we're back, and I'm very happy to be back because then I can cut out my mess ups, which I don't cut out all my mess ups, just so you know I'm still human. But before we jump into what you're seeing as the title, essentially Brian Flores today came out, had a press conference, about 20 minutes, Zoom meeting, got a ton of things that I wrote down, literally. I don't know if you guys can really see this. I wrote down so much for you guys to talk about. But before we jump into that, shout out to Joey and shout out to Nate. They got themselves some DouglieDoWrong merch. If you guys feel like grabbing some, it is linked below. You'll see the two images. Right now, all I got is a hoodie and a t-shirt. I'm working on getting beanies and hats because I'd like to get myself a hat and a beanie and some other things. But for now, those are the t-shirts and hoodies that are linked below. Thank you, Nate and Joey. I greatly appreciate the support. And you guys are going out, repping my stuff, sharing the channel. Let's jump into what we all want to know. So yes, Brian Flores met with the media today, and I got this giant piece of paper that has all the things that he said. And if you want to watch or listen to his talk, it's on Miami Dolphins YouTube channel. You can go check that out. They have the full Zoom meeting there. So I am going to be talking about COVID-19. I said it. I don't think YouTube's demonetizing anymore. I hope not, because now I'm screwed. But I am going to be talking about it, and I'm going to be talking about his beliefs on it. I'm not going to be talking about my beliefs on it. I'm not going to be talking about how I feel about it and this or that. Leave the politics out of the comment section. This has nothing to do with politics. Nothing at all. So on the whole situation in a whole about what's going on in the world, he says we're working towards trying to improve on the field as well. That's fundamental. You know, techniques, conditioning, that's all great. They are unprecedented circumstances, but we have to make the most of every opportunity when we get together. The healthy guys will practice, essentially. So in a nutshell, he's saying, look, crazy times are going on. Nothing much we could do about it. Focus on football. Focus on the fundamentals. Focus on conditioning. Focus on technique. Healthy guys will go out there, play. If you're not healthy, you tested positive, you're going to have to go on the reserve list and do your whole process about getting off the reserve list and all that stuff. So essentially, that's what he says. He talks about, you know, we're going to talk about Xavier Howard. Everyone wants to know about Xavier Howard. He's put on the PUP, physically unable to perform list. And he says he's been rehabbing the entire summer. And we've all seen it. Go to his Twitter or his Instagram, and he's put videos of him backpedaling, doing all these workouts, and he looks fantastic. So again, this is why him being on the PUP don't really scare me. He's been making a lot of progress. He'll be back as soon as he can. I'm not going to put a timetable on it. Again, did you expect Brian Flores to come out and say, yeah, when they scoped his knee, they realized that there was a Toyota Camry in there somewhere, so he's going to be out for the next 4,000 years. He's not going to tell us anything. But he just put the pieces together. We've seen video of him working out. We've seen him backpedal, you know, do all his things. He's fine. This is more, hey, we'd prefer you to not have to rush along, not feel like you need to push yourself more and potentially injure yourself. We saw that happen with Ryan Tannehill. He was literally just running to the sideline, went to stop from running into a player. Boom, down, gone for the season. They're taking it very slow, which I'm fine with that. It's the same. People, listen to me. It's the same defense. Xavier Howard knows the defense. It's the same defense. It's more conditioning, right? Is he going to be winded? All that stuff. Other than that, we took the secondaries coach and we made him the defensive coordinator. It's the same defense. The defense isn't going to change. Then he talks about players that are opting out. Those are tough decisions to make. Fortunately, we haven't had any opt-outs, but still time for that. He also says no coaches have opted out yet. So again, as of right now, of me recording this on 6:15 on Wednesday, no Miami Dolphins player or coaches, because again, people forget coaches can also opt out, have decided to opt out. They do have till Monday, August 3rd to decide whether they want to opt out or not. But as of right now, no Miami Dolphin has decided to opt out. And he talks about reps. You know, who's going to start, who's going to this, who's going to that. Every rep is going to be important. Every walkthrough rep, every practice rep, we won't have a preseason games. That's all we got. No point in dwelling or being upset. So again, It sucks that we don't have a preseason game. It sucks for these undrafted guys. It sucks for these young guys who are fighting to make the team. But there's nothing we could do about it. So all we're doing is, he said, reps. You're going to watch your reps. You're going to do your thing, and you're just going to keep busting your hump. And if they see progress, if they see you doing really well, you'll make the team. But if you're constantly flubbing up, you're not catching the plays, you're not understanding formations, you're not understanding schemes, you're not understanding gap techniques, all that stuff, and it's taking you longer than it should, this isn't the season for you to slack and lag and think, oh, I screwed up in OTAs and minicamp, but I'll make up for it in training camp. This ain't the year to do that. You got to give it your 100% from jump. And now, the man, you guys all want to know who he's talking about, Tua Tagovailoa. He talks about Tua's workload. He says, we're going to ask him to do the same as everyone, to come in every day having gone through the installment from the night before, mentally and physically prepared to go out there and practice and improve every day. One day at a time, take meetings to walk through. Again, if you guys don't know, Tua has gotten a full bill of health, fully healthy, and like he's saying, he will be practicing fully, right? So he will be out there. He will be doing his thing just like everyone else. He will be competing. Now, again, there's a lot of people who think regardless, he should start. Regardless of if he's the best quarterback on the team, he should start. Now, my mindset, and I've said this thousands and thousands of times, is if Tua is the best quarterback on the team right now, and Brian Flores thinks that hey, this kid's the best, start him. I'm for one for winning games. So is Brian Flores. So if Tua is the best quarterback on the team right now, start him. He even comes back and says, people want to talk about Tua. I understand it. He's a rookie and he needs to take it one day at a time. Again, we're all very excited for Tua. We're all very excited that we might have a potential franchise quarterback on our hands. We're all very excited. But again, he even says it. People want to talk about Tua. I understand it. He understands the hype. He understands how excited we are. It's been a while. He's a rookie. He needs to take it one day at a time. Don't rush the process. Again, if come September 13th, Brian Flores thinks, or not even then, because I think they'll make the announcement before the 13th, when the time comes to announce the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins for Week 1, 2020, going into New England to beat the Patriots, if he comes out and he says, we are going with Tua Tagovailoa, we think he gives us the best options to win, blah, 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 fantastic. I'm so happy. The kid really showed that he is going to be great, whatever. If he comes out and he says Fitz, that doesn't mean Tua is not good. That doesn't mean Tua won't be good. That doesn't mean any of that stuff. We've seen players not start week one, quarterbacks not start week one, and then when they came in, they were great. They were elite. Ben Roethlisberger didn't start week one. Eli Manning didn't start week one. Lamar Jackson didn't start week one. They all came in the middle of the season. Two of them have Super Bowl wins. One of them is an elite dynamic player. Just because they don't start week one doesn't mean that they're not good. And then he talks about responsibility. He says for each player individual, they will have a responsibility to themselves and to the team to make sacrifices. If not, the likelihood of us bringing them back to our team is relatively high. So essentially he's talking about, they have the responsibility to follow protocol, follow the bubble, all that stuff. I will talk about that again because he actually talks about the Marlins in a little bit. And I want to talk about some stats, some facts about that. He goes back to talk about COVID. He says, we're trying to create an environment that is as safe as possible. My message to the players is be responsible. Again, they literally put plexiglass up in the locker rooms, all the NFL teams. So when you sit at your locker, you have this big wall of plexiglass between you and the guy next to you. They're being super, super cautious with all of this stuff. And he talks about camp. There are some challenges, but we're trying to make the best of them. We're trying to take them heads on when it comes to it's what the NFL is doing is they're taking OTAs, minicamp, and training camp, and they're smashing it into a little over a month. So that's why a lot of the players aren't going to be doing practice stuff until about August 16th, and pads aren't until about August 18th, give or take. I might be a day off or so, because they're doing a crash course of OTAs and minicamps for the first week where they're going through walkthroughs, doing condition stuff, all that stuff. He then talks about the Marlins, right? And we all know what happened with the Marlins and how a bunch of their players tested positive, and I'll talk about that after I talk about what he said. It's an opportunity for us to see and learn from it. And it's an example of how quickly it can spread and how important taking precautions are. Here's the thing, right? So the Marlins had about, I think it was 12 or 15 players test positive, right? The reason why that happened is those players went out and got food and didn't follow the protocol and essentially got themselves in the line of fire with, you know what I'm talking about. There was a tweet that says only one new COVID positive in MLB today as a Marlins since season began, and they tested 16 positive. Not one has tested positive in the rest of the MLB. So since that, no one else has tested positive in the MLB. And when you look at teams as a whole and sports as a whole, when it comes to the bubble, which essentially means you're just going to play sports and relax. Play sports and relax. That's all you're going to do. The NBA has zero positive tests since July 13th. NHL has zero tests in 4,256 administrated in a 7-day span from July 18th to the 25th. Soccer, zero positive tests in the last 9 major rounds of testing. And NWSL, zero positive tests during its entire tournament. So essentially what I'm saying is if the NFL players just follow protocol, stick within the bubble, and don't do what those Marlin players did, which was essentially go out and get food, we'll be fine. Now let's get back to some more of what Brian Flores had to say. So Brian Flores talking on, hey, is Fitz going to start? He says you always want competition. That's the case for all positions. Some players are further ahead than others, but we always want competition. No jobs are going to be handed out. Every person on this team is going to be competing to start. The team last year was not good enough for one person to come out and say, hey, I played like blank last year. I deserve to be the starter. You might have a case for Devontae Parker, but Devontae Parker is a wide receiver, and we have 3 starting wide receivers. There's no person, none, that can raise their hand and say, I have a case to say I'm the hands down starter of this team after watching the team last year. So like he's saying, Fitz is going to compete. It's going to be Fitz, Rosen, and Tua. They're competing to see who the starter is. He talks about Tua not being on the PUP, which again, like I said before, can and will practice fully. There's an acclimation period here for the next 2 weeks. There's strength and conditioning and walkthroughs. He'll be out there. So essentially, he's going to be practicing. He's going to be doing his thing full force. And, it's awesome that it's not jumping right into contact. All these guys have to get conditioned because he also talks about, and this is something I brought up, he talks about the injuries, right? And he says, you always want your team to be healthy. Right now, COVID is what everyone is talking about. But we get into practice, it will be soft tissue issues. He didn't even mean to rhyme, but he did it. Knee and shoulder issues. And I've told you guys that without the OTAs, without the minicamp, without other stuff, without the conditioning jumping right into training camp and then jumping right into the season, their bodies are not going to be acclimated and slowly brought along on the process, kind of like OTAs where you just do walkthroughs and conditioning and stuff. So you're going to have a lot of, like you said, deep tissue, hamstring injuries, knee injuries, shoulders injuries. You're going to see a spike of that this season. So a lot of us are, potentially worried about, the spread of that, of the COVID, and all of a sudden the season gets shut down. But it seems to him, he's like, yes, that is a scare, but it's more likely that they're going to injure themselves because of the conditioning. So that's what Brian Flores had to say. A lot of tidbits in there, a lot of things. Essentially, he talks about teams going to compete, brings up Xavier Howard, talks about, look, he's fine. He's rehabbing. He's doing his thing. Like I said, we've all seen the video. If you haven't, check out his social medias to find the video. He's fine. I'm not worried about him. If he's on the PUP for another 2 weeks, then I'll be worried about him. Tua, fully healthy. He's going to compete, all that jazz. But yeah, that's what Flores has to say. I feel like we got a good idea of his mentality. But again, Flores doesn't want to tell us much. Flores keeps it very hush-hush to himself, tight to the chest. Be sure to comment below. I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say about the competition between the 3 quarterbacks. I'm really interested to see what you have to say about, everything I talked about. So be sure to comment below, and I'm going to get to one of you guys' comments of the day. This comment comes from Keith. And Keith says, Doug, in the middle of all the players given the option to opt out of the 2020 season, I noticed an overwhelming number of Patriots on the list. You think they are taking advantage of the situation in order to stash players away in hopes of basically tanking for Trevor? No. Big, fat, ugly hippopotamus. No. First off, Bill Belichick doesn't tank. When was the last time Bill Belichick had any type of losing season? No. If he could find Tom Brady in the 7th round, he is not worried about taking Trevor Lawrence in the 1st. Bill Belichick doesn't tank. That's 1. 2, these players that are opting out are losing on millions of dollars on their contract. The players that are opting out and they're fully healthy are only going to get $150,000. So yes, they're losing about 6 players, but those players aren't going to get paid. They're not going to get paid their $1 million contracts. So to think that the Bill Belichick was like, listen, I'm going to need you guys to sit this season out, and I'm going to need you guys to take the hugest pay cut you probably have ever taken in your NFL careers, just so we can have a chance at one quarterback next year. They would laugh in his face, just like you expect somebody to say, hey, don't play good so we can get Tua. No. I'll bet any amount of money. No. I'll bet you any amount of money that the Patriots will still have a pretty good season this year. Bill Belichick's Bill Belichick. He won 11-5 with Matt Castle as a starting quarterback. No, it's not happening. But Keith, I do appreciate the comment. But that's the video. I thought I'd come out, sit down, record a video, edit this sucker for you, and talk about what Brian Flores had to say. He said some good tidbits, and some good tidbits that have sparked conversation. So I'm always interested in listening to what you guys have to say and all that great stuff. But other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter. I was tweeting a ton of you guys, tweeting a bunch of these facts and all these stats and all that stuff. So be sure to go over, check me out on Twitter and Instagram, Fan to Fan Network. That site is already up. It's always linked below. Be sure to check that site out. 32 other NFL YouTubers are on there. DolphinsTalk.com. Great site that I'm a part of. Ton of Dolphin content. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video, which will most likely be Friday. But other than that, if you like what you see, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. But like usual, stay classy. Fins up.